Putin tells world leaders that the global economy is transitioning and that it's transitioning to a new industrial order. And he leaves no room for ambiguity either, since he also says that this is underpinned by the development of digital technology. On the same day, we find out that a prominent Russian politician has asked the Central Bank of Russia to follow Japan's example on legalizing Bitcoin in their country. So while Putin tells world leaders at the G20 that they could take a leading role in shaping the international regulations of digital technology in the new industrial order, we see that Russia's actions are already way ahead of the game. We have that and a whole lot more. Let's discuss. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together, welcome to Minting Coins. So, as always, another day, another Bitcoin, 6.25 Bitcoins coming up in 2020, but we have 12.5 Bitcoins being generated every 10 minutes through the security and the mining of Bitcoin. It's just really interesting to think that every 10 minutes we have more and more Bitcoin that's being minted, being created, and entering into the world of Bitcoin and the world of decentralized cryptocurrency. At the same time, you know, there's all these different ICOs coming out and everyone's really interested in the next big thing and the next big coin and what's going to replace Bitcoin. Well, the fact of the matter is that now that Bitcoin is here, Bitcoin is not going away. And everything that happens inside the Bitcoin network will exist and will be on the ledger and will be public, decentralized, and secure. But we have all these other coins, and with all these other coins, we have all these other interests, and we have major countries that just have huge interests into the Bitcoin space, the cryptocurrency space, and as we've seen before, potentially developing their own coins. So for all this to happen, and really for the businesses to continue developing and to continue expanding, and for the countries to, you know, at a government nation level, get in there and really take advantage of this new technology and this new situation, they need the regulation. It's not like it has been, you know, before 2009, where the banks can just print unlimited amounts of money. And right now, what we have going on, as we've seen in some previous videos in the past, we have Russia making big moves. We have Putin saying some very pro-Bitcoin, pro-blockchain sort of statements, wanting to create Russia as the centralized point of decentralized applications. And we have all sorts of news coming out of the interweb today, just underscoring that point and just underlying how Russia is taking a leading role in the Bitcoin and blockchain and distributed ledger technology. And they're doing that at the highest levels of government through Putin at the G20. And they're doing it throughout all their levels of government as we see them trying to hash this out, sort this out, and figure out what's going on. And together, you and I are going to take a look at the news, take a look at the market, dive in, so we could figure out what's going on, and we could just ourselves be a little further ahead in this big game of cryptocurrency and financial technology in a new world of decentralization. So with that being said, let's take a look at the market, pop in the news, and let's discuss. So looking at the market recap and the market overview, courtesy coinmarketcap.com, we see we have over 801 different currencies listed on coinmarketcap.com. Our total market capitalization of all currencies is under 100 billion again, and Bitcoin dominance increasing to 43.6%. So as the market is decreasing, it's really focusing that capitalization on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's really been staying steady around that $2,600. You know, the big winner lately has really been Litecoin, jumping up 16% and staying strong. Again, it's that 2% ratio right now. The 2% of Bitcoin is the Litecoin value. This used to be 1%, but there's a lot of news. There's a lot happening. Litecoin is the silver to Bitcoin's gold, is what they say. Charlie Lee, the developer, the main developer, is really focused on making the community very strong with Litecoin, and people really recognize that, and the price is really rallying behind that blockchain technology. Dash also doing really well, staying above that $200 mark. They have some big releases coming out, and we got to keep in mind that Dash is also pretty limited. There's pros and cons with each of these different coins, but with that being said, if one of the main pillars that I like talking about is diversification and diversifying between the projects that you believe in, and putting your money where your mind is. And in terms of what the project is, what the currency is, what they're seeking to accomplish, and if it has, in my opinion, strong decentralization, if it has a strong team, if they have a strong purpose, then you want to support what you believe in. Excellent. So with all this decentralization, right, and so that's what I mean by supporting what you believe in. Is that when I think about Bitcoin and blockchain technology, I believe in decentralization. I believe in security. I believe in everybody coming together and everyone having an equal voice, equal participation, a fair, and it comes down to having a fair and level playing field, a level ground for everyone to stand on. And the situation that I think a lot of people have talked about is just not experiencing a fair situation and an an even playing ground for which everyone can participate in the economies across the world. And I think that we're sort of trained to see this even as small children, and then we grow up recognizing that all of the dysfunction is just part of the norm, that we get raised thinking that the dysfunction is the way that it's supposed to be. And so I was on Reddit and I came across this image, and I didn't know if this image was made as sort of like a meme or what the situation was, but it's talking about in the game of Monopoly, what if the bank runs out of money? And so it says, what if the bank runs out of money? Some players think that the bank is bankrupt if it runs out of money, but the bank never goes bankrupt. To continue playing, use slips of paper to keep track of each player's banking transactions until the bank has enough money, paper money, to operate again. The banker may also issue new money on slips of ordinary pieces of paper. And so I wasn't exactly sure if these were the real rules or what was going on. And so I did a quick Google search and I pulled up the actual rules from Hasbro for the common instructions for the Parker Brothers real estate trading game. And in this section here, it talks about the bank, and it does say that the bank collects all taxes, property. So the bank never goes broke. If the bank runs out of money, the banker may issue as much more as may be needed by writing on any ordinary paper. And so it's really interesting that the game of Monopoly is a lot like the game of life, and not the actual game of life, but the actual life, which is which may or may not be an actual game. But with that being said, I know it's a little confusing, but it sort of makes sense when we realize that this is how we've been instructed for it to work all of our life, that the bank can just print money on ordinary pieces of paper and that the bank can never go broke. The problem with that is that now we have Bitcoin and blockchain technology, and countries are recognizing that, countries are realizing that, and I think that the United States and different countries across the world, including Russia, they've been trying to fight Bitcoin and blockchain technology. But some of them are recognizing that we can't fight it, that it can't be fought because it's decentralized, because it's spread across the world. Making it illegal would only increase its popularity, increase its adoption, and decrease the government's control over the who's using it and how they're using it. So the only way the government could have any sort of control and any sort of voice in a situation is to do the opposite of making it illegal and legalizing it, regulating it, and creating rules around it that you know, sort of try to control and govern the majority of usage that is the way that people use the Bitcoin and blockchain technology. This way, legally, they can focus on the fringe cases where people are breaking the laws and the regulations that they set up, that they say are illegal. So in this main bit of news, we see that Russian politicians are proposing that the Central Bank of Russia follow Japan's lead in legalizing Bitcoin. We see that the Central Bank of Russia has been asked to follow Japan's example on legalizing Bitcoin by a prominent Russian politician. And so Boris Titov, if that's how you pronounce his name, apologies if that's off, is a Russian politician and the Presidential Commissioner for Entrepreneurial Rights. And he sent a letter to the Central Bank of Russia pointing out how Japan has gone about with their legalization, the benefits of the way that Japan has gone about with their legalization, and how Russia legalizing Bitcoin the same way Japan has legalized Bitcoin can be in the best interests of Russia. And so what he pointed out is that Japan has recognized digital currency as a means of payment, but not recognizing the digital currency as actual currency or as money. And he outlines 3 reasons why this type of regulation could be applicable to Russia, could be beneficial to Russia. And so the first is that cryptocurrency exchanges are now regulated in Japan, and they're now required to register with the government because of that. And because they're registering with the government, they can now implement strict anti-money laundering laws, also known as AMA laws, as well as strict Know Your Customer measures, or KYC. Second of all, these regulations imposed on the management's assets and the exchanges are all subject to being audited by the government. And being audited by the financial authorities, this creates a lot of insight that the government can have into what the exchanges are doing and who's receiving money from the exchanges, who's putting money in, who's getting money out. And that's the second aspect of the regulation that can benefit Russia or a country. The third he conveyed is that Japan has removed the VAT purchase on the sale of digital currency, so the buying and selling of the digital currency between fiat money and the currency itself, but they have not applied the VAT. So there's a VAT is still applied if they're purchasing items with it. So if you're purchasing a television, you're still going to be taxed on that. But if you're exchanging the one fiat money for the digital money, then there won't be a tax on that. So the finance minister has promised to submit proposals to the government in the near future. And so they're thinking about this. They're talking about this. The prominent Russian politicians are pointing out to the leaders in these financial institutions the case study, the examples, the ways that this cryptocurrency can be regulated while not taking away the strength of the government's most powerful weapon, which is the country's fiat currency itself. Further, we know from previous videos that Russia is already thinking about and talking about a Russia coin, a Bitcoin type version that is sort of centralized, or a distributed ledger, more of a distributed ledger technology than an actual blockchain technology. But nevertheless, a Russia coin, it would be a digital cryptocurrency of a Russian Russian fiat. And so this is all on the top of their mind. This is all what we're talking about. This is all what's happening in Russia. And so discussions are underway on the terminology and the definition of cryptocurrency, and the terminology and the definition of all the different aspects of cryptocurrency and the different types of cryptocurrency. And that so this Russian politician is confident that Russia will be able to successfully adapt the Japanese model for Russia. He noted that light regulation may be attractive for the industry. And so this is all, seems a little nuanced to me. And with that, and with the other information that we've been seeing, it seems pretty clear, at least on the surface. So discussions are underway with the terminology and the definition. This is them saying that they're creating the legal framework and the regulatory framework and the financial framework for the cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies to exist. So it's very clear for the government officials and for the financial officials what things mean. And then that will say how things can be regulated and how things can be taxed. And then it leads into this other bit in green, that the light regulation may be attractive for the industry. And why they want the light regulation to be attractive for the industry is because, as Russia, as Putin has stated in the past, they want to make Moscow, they want to make St. Petersburg the Silicon Valley of blockchain technology. They want to make Russia and Moscow and different major cities in Russia be the central points for the development of blockchain technology. I mean, if you think about the internet nowadays, and if you think about all the major companies in technology and all the major companies on the web, we have Intel, we have Cisco, we have Microsoft, we have Facebook, we have Apple, we have Tesla. I mean, the list really goes on and on and on with every single company that is directly affecting your life. And more than likely, those companies are either based out of Silicon Valley in Northern California, or they're based in New York City, in New York, or they're based, maybe in Austin, Texas. And so if all of that development for the internet and technology over the past 30, 40, 50 years had actually happened in Germany or France or Russia, then what would that have meant for America and America's development over the past, 40 or 50 years? It has had a huge effect on the success of the United States. And with so much bad press in America about Bitcoin and blockchain technology, and so much uncertainty or just ignorance or people's unwillingness to look at the situation at how it can benefit the nation, Russia seems to be jumping I don't want to say jumping the gun, but they're definitely taking the lead in terms of talking about regulation on a national scale, talking about regulation and acceptance of Bitcoin from the highest levels of government, and creating atmospheres where these developers and these companies feel welcomed in Russia, where in the meanwhile in America, we're pushing people away for coming from the wrong country, when it's really sending the message that this is not the place for innovation. This is not the place for technology. And Russia is clearly sending the signals that they are willing to lead, that they are willing to bring people together and to make it happen. And so to highlight this point, let's look at what's happening at the G20. So the G20 is the gathering of the 20 most powerful countries in the world coming together, talking about world issues, and there's a lot of protests around the G20. There's a lot of talks at the G20. There's a lot of there's just a lot with the G20. And so Putin was talking at the G20, and I'm going to play the 30 or 45 seconds or so, and then we're going to break down exactly what he says line by line.
В том числе
Oh, wait.
и торговли, закрепленные в универсальных правилах Всемирной торговой организации. Убеждены, группа 20 должна вносить более весомый вклад в создание справедливой модели глобального развития. Модели, которая будет способна обеспечить устойчивый инклюзивный рост, поможет ликвидировать накопившиеся между странами дисбалансы. Наметившийся переход мировой экономики на новый промышленный уклад сопряжен, как известно, с бурным развитием цифровых технологий. Считаем, что двадцатка могла бы взять на себя лидирующую роль в процессе формирования основ международного регулирования в этой сфере.
All right. So what was he saying? So what he was saying is that he was saying, Putin was saying, as we know, the global economy's transition to a new industrial order is underpinned by the development of digital technology. And so key phrases here. The global economy's transition. So it's transition. The global economy is transitioning to a new industrial order. So Putin is just recognizing in this statement that the global economy is transitioning to a new industrial order. And he's recognizing that this transition of the global economy, which is transitioning to a new industrial order, is underpinned by the development of digital technology. So if the global economy is transitioning to a new industrial order and it's underpinned by the development of this digital technology, then what is he talking about? I don't see the word blockchain specifically or Bitcoin specifically, but it couldn't be more clear what the digital technology is that's transitioning the global economy to this new industrial order. Then he goes on to state that he believes that the G20 could take a leading role in shaping the international regulations of this area. And so this is really interesting because I see this, I see Putin stepping up to lead his nation in this example. And when I hear him say that he believes that the G20 should take a leading role in shaping the international regulations in this area, I don't think that Putin would say that and make that statement that that they should all come together in taking a lead role in shaping the international regulations if he himself, if Russia themselves were not already taking themselves a lead role in shaping the international regulations of the digital technology. And so he's just stating what Russia's already doing. And now he's inviting everybody else to come together for this new world that Russia's positioning themselves to be smack dab in the middle of it. Along with Japan, along with Dubai, Russia sees the writing on the wall. They see the digital glow of things to come, and we hear it from Putin's mouth here at the G20. So he goes on to then state that improving the international financial system so that all economies can benefit from it, including those in the developing world, which remains high on the G20 agenda. Specifically, I believe he's speaking a lot to Africa and what's happening in Africa, and part of that may be because he cares compassionately about what's happening in Africa, but there's also the fact that Africa is a very large piece of land. It's very underdeveloped. The population is growing exponentially, and all of those people growing creates a lot of opportunity in terms of the human capital. And if they're able to leapfrog over banks and go directly to Bitcoin and blockchain technology, just like they're able to leapfrog over phone wires and go straight to cell phones, it's a huge economic potential for the United States, for the Europe, for Russia, for China, for the whole APAC, Asian Pacific region, for all these nations to be involved with what's happening in Africa and to integrate their countries with the developing world. And by Russia or by any nation being integrated on the blockchain, and then Africa being integrated on a similar blockchain, that would lift the economy and scale it to huge levels. For example, if this was straight Bitcoin, if the whole world was on Bitcoin, and all of Africa developed over the next 20 years, and all of that human capital and cash went into Bitcoin, and there's only 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be created, then all of that economy building on top of that blockchain would just make everybody rich who was already in that blockchain. And so the same thing is true if it was a normal economic system with fiat cash, but the world is moving toward the blockchain technology, and Russia wants to be a part, or not be a part of that train. They want to be driving that train of the blockchain technology and the decentralization, or the, not necessarily the decentralization, but they want to, you know, they want to be a part of the technology and what's happening. Cool. So he just goes on to just speak to the fact that Russia has special importance on the matters related to energy and relating to climate change, in addition to what's happening with the new industrial order of digital technology. And you know, a lot of this is surrounding the area of energy. Energy is a critical component of our world, and so Russia wants to be a reliable energy supplier to the global markets. And as we know, the blockchain technology can really help with the supply chain tracking and the efficiencies of how these different systems work. Wow, so that was Putin saying it himself, right? And so at the G20, there's this speech, and you heard it here. These links will be in the show notes below. And this is Putin talking about how this transitioning is happening in the world. We have the major politicians in Russia who are calling on their central bank for these sort of not just reforms, but these regulations, these laws, these policies to essentially get approved and put into law inside Russia. In yesterday's video, we saw sort of rush and a push in the United States. I think someone is starting to pay attention. I think that things are starting to pick up. I'm sensing more energy on a global scale, not just from the news articles that we're picking up, but directly from the people who are responsible and who are making these laws, who are, you know, proposing that these things happen. So in America, we have legislators, we have senators drafting bills to get approved on and voted on. In Japan, we have it legalized on the national level. In Russia, they are working diligently to, you know, make this regulation happen, it seems, by 2018. And so it's just very, very exciting that there's so much happening, there's so much going on, and what's going to happen next. It feels like there's going to be some sort of crazy news that's just going to pop, and it's just going to cause an explosion in one direction or another. And, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty right now because of the user-activated soft fork, which is, you know, a soft fork upgrade of Bitcoin. And some people have a fear that that could create a hard fork situation where we could then have two Bitcoins. And you know, even if long term it was very clear that one of those Bitcoins was the true Bitcoin and the other Bitcoin just eventually faded away, this just, right, it's very confusing. It just adds fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and that doesn't help anybody in terms of the markets and in terms of the marketing of the Bitcoin token itself or the blockchain technology. Wow, it's just really exciting. Just a lot happening. It's a lot going on, and as everything is happening, as everything is going on, it's important for me to parse through it, to break it down, and to have it make sense in terms of everything else that I understand, everything else that I know about the Bitcoin and the blockchain technology. It seems as if everybody has an agenda. Everyone's trying to, you know, not even sure what everyone's agenda is, but everyone's trying to sell you something or tell you something or think that they're helping you with one thing and then pushing something else, you know, in front of you. And what I'm looking for is just for all of us to be able to take a step back, look at the facts, and figure out, how do we think for ourselves about what's going on? How do we have this information make sense in this world that has rapidly changing events, rapidly changing information, and you know, markets can go up or down, news can come out any single day, and you know, especially in the speed of light with the blockchain technology, it's just sometimes a little overwhelming, but it's a lot of fun. You know, none of this is financial advice. I'm not sure what you guys are doing. Personally, for myself and, you know, for my family, what I like to recommend is just dollar cost averaging, just not risking more than you could afford to lose, just diversifying your funds so you don't have all your eggs in one basket. And then, you know, just have fun along the ride, because things are going to go up and things are going to go down. And there's professional traders in here looking to make money, that are looking to crash systems, purchase everything they can, and then boost those systems right back up. And so try not to get swayed by, you know, the fear and the uncertainty and the doubt. Be careful about the hype. Right now, we're sort of in this downtime where we're just hovering up and down that $100 billion mark. And I just feel it in me. And I realize it's not very scientific, but with everything that's happening on the world scale, with all this attention on the Bitcoin and the blockchain technology, there's just going to be a lot more news coming out. There's going to be some major swings over the course of the next 12 months, and no one is going to know exactly when or what is going to happen. I think all we do know is that when the news does hit the fan, that we definitely want to have a little bit of crypto, and we definitely want to have that tucked away, and we definitely want to be paying attention to the news and what's going on, so we can take advantage of that information, and we don't get lost in the confusion when everyone else gets smacked with, you know, some headline that they don't even understand. So I hope you understand. Thanks for sticking with me through this video. Thanks for listening to this news coming out of Russia and this news coming out of the G20. What do you think about this leadership role that Putin and Russia is taking with the Bitcoin and blockchain technology? Do you think that America is going to catch on? Do you think America is going to catch up? And do you think America has any chance of becoming the global leader in the blockchain development of the new decentralized world? Share your thoughts below. Tap that like button. Keep the conversation going. And I'll see you next time, because I'm glad that together we're minting coins.